Hey guys, it's Maddie. So since a lot of my videos here cover my coloring process much more, I figured I would share my sketching and line art process, and I'll describe what I would be doing differently if this was a traditional piece. So first of all, if this was traditional, I would do a thumbnail first because I don't want to be erasing a lot on my final piece because lines would show through, unless it's like an oil painting or something where lines, it doesn't matter so much because you're covering them up, but even still, if I was working on a canvas, I'd rather thumbnail first. So you can see I start sketching really loose, and I'm changing a lot of stuff as I go because obviously it's digital and nothing's permanent. I start with center lines, and I try to get the motion down. You see, like, I'm not adding detail to these figures at all. Like, if you look at her eyes right now, they're just like little blobs. Oh, by the way, this piece is for the Percy Jackson coloring book project. I was asked to make a piece for it, and I'm technically not supposed to even show the piece until the book comes out on Halloween, but I haven't uploaded it anywhere. It's just the process video. I don't know, if you don't tell, I won't tell, but you can see me looking up reference here too for my third character. Also, like, this stuff is not super anatomically correct or anything yet, and it might not even end up being because I've been working a lot on my college portfolio lately, so I haven't had a lot of time for this kind of stuff. So this was really quick, like one night, like less than 2 hours of footage. So you could see the reference photo was just showing kind of like on one knee, but it's not the actual pose I was creating. I was kind of just using it for inspiration. And then I'm adding in her mist and everything. More character fun. Adding in effects. And then yeah, so this is like the beginning loose sketch. Yeah, if I were to color this piece, as soon as I would finish the line art, I would do the background first before starting to color. But I'm not coloring it because it's just line art because it's for a coloring book. So once I go in, oh yeah, see, I like to always change the color of my sketch before I go in with the line art instead of just lowering the opacity. A lot of times I even sketch in a bright color to start with. It's a lot easier to see and distinguish from the line art, and if I don't do this, a lot of times when I delete my line art, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, when I delete the sketch, it's like, why does my line art look like so empty? Because you feel like those lines are part of your line art in a way almost. I also like to make it really light. As you can see, I just made it even lighter. I keep making it lighter because I don't want to confuse my sketch at all with my line art. Though, of course, like once you're done doing your initial line art, you could turn off your sketch and detail the line art, but you know, I didn't have a lot of time. Ooh, hands, my favorite part of every drawing. Not that this is a particularly complex hand pose, but yeah. So with my lines, I like to draw with my arm and not my wrist in a way, if that makes any sense. So, because I find that my arm is a lot more stable than my wrist. So I like to, you can see it's more zoomed in, and I like to drag my arm across the tablet. I do digital art. I started with my Intuos Pro, the small one. So I don't know if it's easier to get arm motions on the bigger ones. It might be. But obviously when I'm doing traditional art too, it's a lot easier because it's not a small tablet. But yeah, it worked fine though. I mean, you just have to. I find that line, like stability and stuff, I was horrible at it for a long time, and it's very connected to your traditional art. I mean, the more stable I got with doing traditional line art, the more stable I got doing digital line art, even though it seems like sort of disconnected, and the more sketchbook work I was doing and the more all kind of that stuff, it just got better. If you look through my old work, like on my DeviantArt from, 2012, 2013, my line art is not clean, and it also took me like hours to do. And now I generally keep most of the lines I put down. I mean, you can see me undoing lines. Oh yeah, so I hid that line art because I wanted to do the second character, which is behind her, and I didn't want to confuse line arts again. Oh, I'm also doing these on different layers. You can see my layers in the corner. I'm doing each character on a separate layer because it helps me just organize stuff and not... Because you see how they're overlapping. If they were on the same layer, I would be kind of having to erase parts that were overlapping, and I might accidentally erase some parts of the line art, and it would just make it look less clean, and it's just a lot easier to do it like this. You can see I accidentally put his hands in the wrong place for a two-handed sword, so I'm fixing it. I found him actually a lot faster at traditional traditional line art as well. I don't know if it's just because it's like easier with a pen than with a tablet, but I don't know. It just digitally line art usually takes me longer. I don't know if it's also maybe I go in more detail with digital line art, or I don't know. Even just making straight lines, it's like for some reason it's so much easier to make a straight line traditionally for me. Look, you see I'm going in with a straight line tool because I failed so many times at making a straight line. Whereas traditionally it's fairly easy for me, or even just to grab like a ruler or like my ID or driver's license or whatever I have around me and like use it as a straight edge. But yeah, I find me as like a digital artist, I tend to do digital art pretty similarly to how I do traditional art. Like, I don't use a lot of layer modes or anything like that excessively. I don't usually use like that one you see a lot of professional artists using, where like you can like move around all the parts of a piece to make it more correct. Like I've never really used that before. I don't even know how. But yeah, I think it's like a very direct correlation between practicing for both. So you can see I'm just cleaning stuff up, obviously trying to fix like anatomical errors as well, since I had so little time. I'm just fixing them as best as I can for now. Yeah, I mean, even when we're zoomed in here, you can see like around his hands on the sword, like the line art's not that clean or whatever, but just because it was like such a time restriction. But when zoomed out, you can't really tell that much, so it's okay. So this coloring book thing is a pretty cool project, I think. It's coming out on October 31st, so Halloween. The blog associated with it is, I think, PJO Coloring Book. Let me make sure, but I believe so. And it's a lot of different artists coming together to make a coloring book, and it's free, obviously, because I think it's illegal to not make it free unless you have permission. But yeah, it seems really cool, and it'll be available for download online. I don't know if there will be print editions. Yeah, so the URL is pjocoloringbook.tumblr.com. And I have to make one more piece for this. I have to make my About Me with like a drawing of myself and introduction and all that, which I think will be fun. I just have to find the time to do it. Oh, with this hand, that's just... If you notice, I put the thumb on the wrong side. And so I literally just took the hand and put it on her other arm, because I was like, oh, well, that's the right side of the thumb for that arm. Yeah, I could not do that traditionally, so that's nice. Yeah, so with line art, I guess I try to get the general shape of things. Like, see, for her jacket, I didn't connect all the lines, and it's not like every single detail is there, but I try to like imply things a lot when I'm doing this kind of style. And usually I fill it in with the coloring. I don't, with my style personally, I don't like to do every single line. I like, a lot of times I do broken contour on stuff. Traditionally, a lot of the time, I do all the coloring first and then line art on top. So I don't even line art around the whole picture. And I change the colors a lot and I do all that kind of stuff. But since this is for a coloring book, I did do almost full color. Like it's the outer contours are filled in a lot, but there's still a lot of room for interpretation with the coloring. Yeah, oh wow, that leg. Watching this back is like almost painful just because like a lot of stuff is just like wrong, but you know, it was less than I did not spend a long time on this, so if you noticed, since I used the pink coloring layer thing is in, I think it's a color layer or like an overlay layer or something, I turned off the sketch layers and I moved the actual line art layers under that so that it looks cleaner, but it's still a different color. And that's again to like make it less busy and to see where the piece is headed, just, you know, as you go along, instead of waiting to get rid of the entire sketch at the end and being like, whoa, like what happened all of a sudden. I like to transition into it so you can see where the piece is going the whole time. You can also do this by just like clicking your sketch layer on and off as you do your line art just to make sure it's coming along well. These are some fun little skeletons coming from Bianca. I don't know if I've ever actually drawn her before. I might have drawn her like maybe in the 8th grade when I drew a lot of the characters in the 8th grade. And then got Hazel in the middle with her mist, and we got Nico with his sword doing shadowy stuff. See, I wanted to have him doing like fun shadow stuff, but it's hard to do in line art. I normally do that with like a soft brush, you know, when doing the coloring, so maybe people will think to do that when they're coloring or something, but it looked weird if I tried to line art that. Like shadow effect. Oh yeah, did you see I changed that from being a straight line to a diagonal? Ooh, compositional tricks. That dynamic diagonal. And then I'm lightening the line art that's underneath the mist and like in the, you know, part of his blade thing where it's like glowing, just to, I guess, make it so it's not super, because there's stuff in front of it, but it's transparent stuff. So here I go signing it, and yeah, that's basically it. The final piece will be posted. I might color it, so I guess probably early November if I end up coloring it, or even on Halloween when the book comes out. So thanks for watching, guys.